the enthusiastic tutorial. And in today's tutorial happens to be the very first class we're having on the course, INR112, taking our bearing from the origin of men. Alright, the origin of man, and with this said, let's go straight into it. Okay, so we have INR 112, and we are taking our bearing from that origin of man. Okay, I think I should even put that in the center because we're going to be dissecting a lot of things that is related to this. Okay, let me centralize this. The origin of man. All right, so it is no news to us that there has been a lot of discrepancies about the origin of man. All right, because we have a lot of theories, series of theories, disagreement here and there, all right, as to what exactly is the most accepted origin of man. Where did humans emanated from? What is the origin of man? All right, so according to the course and according to our material, we're taking some points together tonight. Now, just like as I have established, there have been, all right, copious explanations that are not clear enough. All right, copious explanations and theories, all right, advanced on the origin of man. Okay, all right, we have theories like the spontaneous generation to the origin of man, theories like the spontaneous generation, the theory of uniformitarianism, the theory of prior simpler form, inheritance theory, all right, degeneration theory, okay, theory of mutual natural selection. A lot of theories, all right, as explained, and I said something about the generation of man. All right, so tonight we're going to be considering, all right, where exactly did man generated from? Where is the most accepted, all right, history and the origin of the etymology of mankind? Okay, so now let's go into our material. Now, according to what we have here, the theory of good evening. Yeah, we have the theory of spontaneous generation. Speaking of which, the first of this theory, all right, presupposes, which is the theory of spontaneous, all right, generation. All right, this theory is the first theory we are considering tonight, and it presupposes that each organism came into existence in its present form without any form of relationship with other species. So now let's take this. That is spontaneous generation. All right, spontaneous generation. All right, spontaneous generation says that man as an organism came into existence. All right, organism came into existence in its present form. came into existence in its present form, all right, without any relationship whatsoever with other species, with no relationship with other species. All right, speaking of the spontaneous generation. Now, okay, so we have the evolution of man is not traceable to any object or substance that existed sometimes in the past. According to this theory, all right, it says that the origin of man cannot be traced to, all right, it is not traceable to any object or substance. All right, I think there's no need to put that down. Let's just pay attention to that. According to the spontaneous generation, it says the origin of mankind is not traceable to any object or substance that had existed sometimes in the past. All right. So, following this theory, we have the uniformitarian theory. That's uniformitarian. Uniformitarian. All right. Uniformitarian. Okay. Theory. Let's just put it as THY. Okay. Uniformitarian theory. Now, this theory says that according to now James Horton propounded this thesis. All right, according to James Horton thesis, all right, signifies that some kind of commonality in the evolutionary process or processes of living organisms, according to the thesis propounded by James Horton. All right, James Horton thesis. All right, he said, according to him, he said that there are some kind of commonalities or commonality in the evolution processes, kind of commonality, all right, in the what? In the evolutionary processes of living organism. Processes of living organism. All right, commonalities in the evolutionary. All right, when we say evolutionary, we're simply talking about how certain phenomenon changes with time, evolves, develops, changes with time as time passes. All right, so we have that as that. Perhaps the most strategic and instructive in linking the organism or the origin of man to Africa is the theory of natural selection by Darwin. All right, the theory of natural selection by Darwin. Okay, now we've spoken about the spontaneous generation. Okay, the spontaneous generation. So as well as we've spoken about the uniformity theory according to James Horton thesis. All right, according to James Horton thesis. Okay, so we have according to the theory propounded by Darwin. All right, that is the theory of natural selection. Okay, natural selection. All right, and that's according to who? Darwin. All right, Darwin. Now let's see what this theory, all right, has to offer. Now, it argues that, okay, now it says the most strategic and instructive, the most strategic and instructive linking in the origin of man is towards Africa. All right, the most strategic and instructive linking of or linking to the origin of man is towards Africa, according to Darwin. Now, it argues that all currently existing organisms evolved, all right, emanated, came from, originated from what we call natural selection, by which at a point in the history of organic development, certain unfavorable conditions resulted in the death of the weak. Now, when we say natural selection, let's just, all right, we deal with points here, all right, because your exams are computer based, all right, and it's going to be more of bullet points. Now, when we say Darwin now about his thesis, or should we call it theory, or yeah, about theory, what he propounded about the origin of man, talking about natural selection. All right, it is all about the weak and the strong. All right, nature favoring the strong and not favoring the weak. All right, nature favoring. When we say nature favoring the weak and not favoring the strong, all right, we all know that there are a lot of unfavorable conditions, or a lot of, let's remove the favorable, a lot of problems, harsh conditions, harsh situations, difficulties. Even here, with the way the world has evolved and everything has advanced, all right, there are some situations, there are some problems that a man will find himself and he will not survive it. All right, so now let's take this back to the origin and genesis of mankind. Darwin is now saying that from the beginning, the origin of man, that a lot of species went extinct. Why? Because they could not cope with the harsh condition and the rule of survival. All right, so now Darwin now said it is now natural selection, in the sense that the strongest species, those ones that could adapt to the harsh conditions of survival, preys on the weak. All right, that is the all and sundry. But let's go back to what we have here. It says that where we have unfavorable conditions resulted in the death of weaker organisms, and it became the survival of the fittest. All right, the survival of the fittest. All right, that is what it's all about. Natural selection, survival of the fittest. If you cannot cope, you go into extinction. All right, but if you can cope, all right, adapt to changes, and that is what human beings are designed to do. We are designed to adapt to changes, no matter how difficult these changes or situations might be. You should adapt. You must adapt to survive. All right, the fact that you don't even know what tomorrow holds, you need to be prepared, and that's what even the Bible teaches us. All right, we should live our life, all right, as if tomorrow is going to be the end of the world. All right, so you need to always prepare and look forward to whatever it is that might be coming your way. All right, the survival of the fittest. So it was said, it was propounded by Darwin, according to the theory of natural selection. Okay, so we have unfavorable conditions resulted in death of weaker organism. favorable conditions, so we have resulted in death, all right, for weaker organism. So we have that as that. Now let's continue. Let's proceed. Now let's now for the survival to overcome extinction, all right, for the survival to overcome extinction, they developed special adaptive features, all right, to cope with harsh conditions, harsh environmental conditions. So this issue of harsh economy has not been a matter of today. It has been a matter of the origin of man. All right, you can imagine in the tracing back, going back to the origin, to the etymology of the origin of man, you can imagine there has been harsh conditions, and the species that could not survive, they died. Right? But those ones that adapted, look at what it says here, for the survival to overcome extinction. Look at what they did. They developed special adaptive features. They were not made, all right, okay, let's say let's no, for them to adapt to this, for them to develop this special, all right, adaptive features, that means it was there, but they never knew. But it got to a point whereby it became the issue of the survival of the fittest. Then they realized that there was a hidden potential they have not tapped into, and they realized it and they tapped into it. And look at what it says there. They develop. You cannot develop what has not been there. You can only develop what has been there but has not been used properly. Take that. They developed a special adaptive features in order to what? To cope with the harsh environmental conditions. Okay, so we have that as that. Now, the multicellular organism, all right, occupy a higher level than the unicellular organism, and the vertebrates are more complex than the invertebrates. All right, under this classification falls mammals. All right, mammals are classified as the highest of the vertebrates. All right, speaking of vertebrates, arrangement of bones, speaking of the spinal cord and some other features. All right, so mammals are classified as highest vertebrates, all right, in terms of intelligence and sophistication. Please take that. Mammals are classified as the highest of the vertebrates, all right, highest of the vertebrates in terms of intelligence and sophistication. All right, so we have that as that, followed, all right, by, all right, so the mammals, speaking of which, we have the monkeys, the gorillas, all right, and we have that as that. Now let's continue. Now let's take down this point. It says that most significant of the archeological, all right, you know, when we say archeological discoveries now, or who is an archaeologist, someone who digs down into the history of human beings or into the history of humanity or mankind. All right, so most of the significance of the archaeological discoveries have been found on the African continent. You know, I think it was in just 105 where I made mention of something about this argument that says science originated from Africa. All right, and the argument was there, and it was said that science has its foundation in Africa. All right, it's just quite unfortunate what it is now that the Westerners are taking over, but the origin of science can be traced down to Africa. Now, here as we are being told that the origin of humanity, mankind, whether you are white, black, red, or blue, is traced back to African continents. Okay, so now we have that as that. Now, most significant of the archaeological discoveries have been found on the African continent. All right, so let's take that. I think I need to switch my marker. So we have most significant. All right, but there's an argument according to what the material says. It says the argument is that these theories, all right, it's a lot of persons find it difficult to believe that their ancestors were from Africa. All right, so we are only saying this based on, all right, what science has said. All right, so even as science has said this, all right, there are still a lot of persons that disagrees that their ancestors, their great ancestors, were from Africa. All right, so we have that as that. Now let's continue. Now, most significant of the archaeological of the all right of the archaeological discoveries. Okay, discoveries have been found on African continent. Have been found on African continents. Okay, found on African continent. Okay, so we have that as that. Now let's continue. Okay, now we have that as that. Now, logically, okay, as we have said, that most significant of the archaeological discoveries have been found, all right, on African continent. So logically, it may be asserted that life started in Africa. All right, logically, it may be asserted that life, all right, that life started in Africa. All right, life started in Africa. Now, according to what was said in 1952, all right, something happened in 1952, and according to what we have here, the fossil of a primitive, all right, was found in South Africa, and it was identified as the earliest primate called Australopithecus. All right, Australopithecus. All right, that is the earliest primate. All right, in 1925, fossils. When we say fossils, now we're talking about the remains. All right, the fossils of a primate, all right, was found in South Africa, and was identified as the earliest primate called Australopithecus. All right, Australopithecus. All right, so we have that as that. Now let's take that down. in 1925. 1925. All right, we all right, the fossil of a primate, all right, a primate was found in South Africa. Fossil of a primate was found in South Africa. South Africa, all right, and it was identified as the earliest primate called Australopithecus, all right, Australopithecus. So we have that as that. And speaking of which, Australopithecus or Thecus are the earliest species in the genus of what we call Homo. All right, they are the earliest species in the genus of Homo. All right, Homo, like Homo sapien, but here we have Homo. All right, earliest species in the genus Homo. They are extinct. They represent an early part of the line of descendants. All right, line of descent of modern humans, as but they have very little in common with modern humans. All right, they are the earliest ancestors of mankind. So we have that as that. Overwhelming evidence has confirmed that humans evolved in Africa and migrated to other parts of the world. According to our material, it says overwhelming evidence has confirmed that humans evolved in Africa and migrated to other parts of the world. All right, this idea was expressed as early as 1859. All right, however, this view was unaccepted, all right, unacceptable to some, all right, to so many, based on spiritual and racial consideration. All right, spirituality and racial consideration disagrees with all right, the theory that says human human beings emanated from Africa. So we have, there were those who faulted the assertion as a result of their belief in the biblical account of the origin of man. All right, biblical account says man was made, all right, by God in his image in the Garden of Eden. Okay, so we have that as that. While Europeans found it impossible to accept their ancestors had African origin, nevertheless, scientific and archaeological findings have validated the view that Africa is the birthplace of man, of humankind. All right. So we have scientific and archaeological. All right, scientific. All right, and archaeological. All right, scientific and archaeological findings has proved that Africa, all right, is the birthplace of humankind. Africa, right, birthplace of humankind. All right, Africa is the birthplace of humankind. All right, of humankind, not humankind, humankind. So we have that as that. So we are going to call it a wrap here for today, and in our next class we'll take it up from what we call, all right, in our next class, we'll continue from where we stop and talk more about the Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, Homo habilis, and the likes. Thank you very much, everyone. I believe you have been able to gain a thing or two into this class. Please let's work our notes up to date. And for those of us that are yet to become a member of the private class, don't hesitate to join, as there are a lot to benefit. I look forward to seeing all the subsequent tutorial. To have a wonderful evening. Good night.